All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we've at this juncture, we obviously have the face. You did not have to do the eyes with the pupils like I have over here, but you can see my eyelids have been made. My mouth has been made. I added a little extra material on the bottom over here for the chin. You can take a look at the spacing of things. You can see, how much space there is, from the eyes, between the eyes. You can see that my quarter is pretty much where the eye muscles are. You can see like the thickness of the eye where we have those little tear ducts. That's pretty much where my quarter lines up. So just giving you an idea of how big I'm working and give you an idea how far spaced apart you should be. Again, when I laid the quarter across over here, the top of the quarter is kind of aligned with the pupils. Bottom of the quarter down here near the top part of the lip. This would be my upper lip. This is really where I want to place my nose. Now, the nose itself can vary greatly from sculpture to sculpture, mattering on the style of person or face you want to make. Now, you can obviously make a much larger nose than I'm making. You can make it smaller. Generally, what happens is that when you make the nose a little bit smaller, I'll make it look a little clown face right now. When you make the nose smaller, it tends to look more like a small child. Smaller nose, younger face. The one part of our body that continues to grow after we start getting older and older is our nose. So even as you get into your old age, 50, 60, 70, even 80, the cartilage in your nose still grows, which means that your nose is just going to get longer and longer and longer. So what I have over here is I have a little ball that I've pre-made that's about the size of a quarter. We was using our quarter measurements. I also have another one that I made that's slightly smaller. Now, I'm deciding I'm going to do my nose just a little bit bigger, so I'm going to keep it about the size of a quarter, but if you should decide to make it smaller, that's fine too. You can always add material to it. I'm also going to have another ball ready to go about the same size to make the nose. So what I'm going to do with this second ball right now is first I'm going to kind of pinch it and make it into two equal parts. So I'm starting off with a piece that's about the size of a quarter, and I've broken it up into two equal parts. So I have two slightly smaller pieces, and you'll see what I use these for later. This is going to be starting to be part of the cheek. It's going to kind of blend the nose into the face a little bit. I'm going to take that one and that one. I'm going to kind of just roll them up. And again, this was originally the same size as the quarter. I just kind of broken them in half. So I have that, and I have my larger one. Now for my larger one, I'm going to start making the nose. And remember, the one that we made in practice, there wasn't really a whole lot of steps to it. It really isn't that complicated a form to make. What we want to do is we want to kind of start pinching and pressing this thing down into our sort of surface, desk or whatever you're working on. What I'm doing right now with my index fingers is I'm pressing them together over here, and I'm trying to start making this thing into sort of a triangular shape. So it's not like a perfect pyramid or a perfect triangle, but you can see that these two sides are going to start to become the sort of sides of my nose. This is going to be the bridge. Down over here where my thumbs are is going to be my nostrils. So again, I'm going to continue to pinch over here. Remember though, we don't want to make the top part of this bridge in the nose, we don't want to make it too sharp, okay? We don't want it to be like a really acute angle, a really sort of pinching angle. What we want to do is have it a little bit rounded, and I'm just going to kind of, by pressing it together, continue to sort of stretch out a little bit of that material. So it becomes a longer sort of triangle. It's a symmetrical triangle, but the center part of it's going to just continue to kind of get longer and longer. Down over here, I'm going to start pinching in just a little bit with my thumbs. By doing that, I'm making two little nudges in there, notches, that's going to be part of my nostrils. What I want to do, I'm going to pick this up off the board so you can see I've been pressing this down into my desk, and that's making this side flat. You can see the profile of my nose. Now, obviously, you can reshape and shape the nose however you want. You can make it more sweep in like this. You could make it rounder and flatter. You could make it pointier. You could do a lot of different things to it. There isn't like a right way that the nose should look. Again, every nose out there is going to be different. But the overall shape and idea behind it is that, yes, it's longer this way, rounded down here on the bottom. Well, I want to take a look. This side's flat, but you could also see I've kind of kept this area of the nose relatively full looking and round. What I'm going to do is just give it an ever so slightly pinch over here, and I'm going to keep those areas around. You can see from all different angles what my nose looks like. From underneath it, again, it's a triangle, but it's a much smaller triangle. From the front view, it's a longer looking triangle. On the side, you can see over here it's gotten a little round. And what I want to do first, before I do much more work on it, is I kind of want to do like a rough fitting of how it fits on the face. Okay? I'm looking at mine overall, and what I want to do is I want to kind of adjust it. Now, this is the point on our sculpture where you could decide, well, you know what, I feel like my nose looks a little big or a little small, or I want to change it and adjust it. This is the time to do it, this sort of rough fitting. So I haven't really mushed it in there yet. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of make some of the bridge of the nose a little thinner. I'm going to pinch a little bit more underneath the nose, try to create a little bit more sharper edge over here. You can see how I've left the bottom of that, so it has this sort of little tiny piece that sticks out. And then again, I'm going to start, again, rough fitting, seeing where it goes and how it fits on my face. I'm just kind of getting a feel for it. If I don't like it, now's the time for me to make real big adjustments. What I'm going to do is kind of pinch in a little bit more right here. Kind of make that bridge a little bit longer. Trying my best to keep my nose looking symmetrical. And more importantly, trying to make sure that that bridge of the nose kind of fits in between the eyes pretty good. And again, just with a couple different pinches, you could really change the look of this nose dramatically. Starting to get it kind of where I want it to be. Almost done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully pinch a little bit more right in here. That's just going to be where the top of those nostrils are. Take just a little bit of clay off this side because it's getting a little bit lopsided. Again, trying to fit it right in first, make sure it looks the way I want it to look. So it's not too low on the face. And give yourself a little bit of space above the upper lip. I think I kind of have it the way I'd like it on my actual character. Alright, so now what I'd like to do, so I want to kind of start blending and pressing this nose into the face. It's obviously stuck on, it's not going to come off at this point, but I do want to kind of attach it. I'm not going to attach it everywhere. If you guys see the little bit of sort of gap here and little sort of fold in and crease that you get on either these sides, we want to kind of keep that there. And what I'm going to do on the underneath part over here, where it kind of blends into the mouth, I'm going to very carefully kind of get in there with my fingertip. and try to blend it in. You want to be careful. You don't want to mess up the lips that you spent so much time working on, but we do want to kind of blend this part underneath into our upper lip. But carefully, if you have to, use your pinky. Your smaller fingers are usually easier to do this, but even my sort of hot dog fingers can still get in there and do this. And I've blended in successfully the bottom part. See over here I haven't blended it in, and over here I haven't blended it in. That's fine. Alright. Now what I want to do is I kind of want to work on the top part over here. And I want to blend the bridge of the nose in. I'm going to make that one with the top part of my face. Now you're not going to be able to get your finger in there and really blend it into that sort of gap in between where your tear ducts are. That's why it's important you pinch that part to fit in really nicely. What I'm going to just do is I'm just going to kind of sweep that part in on the top and do the same thing on both sides. And again, I'm going to be careful not to wreck those eyelids that I spent all that time with. We'll try to get in there as best we can. Got a little bit of gap in there. That's okay. Do the best you can. It's okay if there's a little crease there. What you've seen is I've sort of successfully blended the top part. I blended in the very bottom part. These sides, I'm going to leave them as is. And I want that little bit of crease and fold in there. I do want this to be pressed up into it. And at this point, I could do a little bit of rough changing and fitting to the nose. If I don't necessarily love the exact shape of it now, I could do a little rhinoplasty on it, you know, just obviously change and adjust the tip of it and just move that around a little bit. Now again, it's going to get a little tight now that we have all these pieces there. So again, the real big important part of the nose is not to kind of mess up any of the other parts of the face. And again, your nose could be a little thinner, it could be a little thicker, it could be flatter, it could be rounder, it could be a little more pointy. Everybody's nose is going to be a little different. But we want to make sure it's all stuck on there. All right. Now we're going to come back here for a second, and we're going to get those two little pieces of clay that I had earlier. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten them out, roll them out a little bit, make them a little bit longer. Again, we want to try to keep them to be about the same size. These are going to start to become parts of our cheeks. Okay. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, first I've made like a really thick sort of sausage or a hot dog kind of shape. I'm going to start flattening that out a little bit. I want to make sure that I make something that is like a giant oval. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to try to do that to both pieces equally. So the most important part on how to get this part right is to start off with the same size piece of clay. Again, it was like half of one of the big pieces of quarter size bowls. When I'm making this, we want this to kind of be like a ovalish, almost like I guess a lima bean kind of shape. For those of you who are bean connoisseurs, these are going to be starting parts for our cheeks. And we're going to try to fit something in these general areas, kind of beef up this side of the face a little bit. We also have a little muscular crease between the upper lip and those cheeks. Now, your cheeks don't have to be gigantic, but we do need to make a little piece that's going to fit in there. Now, to make that piece, we're going to take the lima bean, and we're going to try to sort of turn the lima bean into a little bit more like a teardrop. Kind of like the human lungs a little bit. Again, you can see one side of this I'm keeping pretty flat, the other side is staying pretty round. And again, I'm going to kind of work on both of them at the same time to try to keep them essentially same size, pretty much same shape. You can hold them back to back and kind of see if they're close. And what we're doing is we're trying to come up with a little bit of a piece in here that's going to fit in for our cheekbones. I'm going to beef the face up just a little bit since he's got sort of sunken cheeks. I'm going to pinch this a little bit more. Okay. And then I'm going to look to kind of set those cheeks up in underneath the eyes and symmetrically to each side. When I go over here, I'm going to make this a really tight little pinch at the bottom. I'm going to kind of curve this around so it fits around the eyes, just like what you see right now. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And bending it so it fits right up in that spot. It fits in right over here. We're going to build up the cheeks a little bit. Alright, I have them where I want them right now. What I want to do is I want to kind of blend them in. Now we can see there's a little bit of a gap right in there. I want to kind of just get our finger in there a little bit, just drag it back and forth a little bit, and just try to get those to connect. Underneath the eyelid, I'm going to kind of just smooth some of that out a little bit. It's okay if there's a little crease underneath it and a little line, that's fine. I'm just going to kind of smooth it out carefully. You see I'm kind of making that part of the cheek one with my lower lid, sort of blended it in there. The upper part very carefully I've kind of swept into that sort of bridge of my nose. And right in here, it's okay to leave those folds and creases. I'll try to now do the same thing on the opposite side. I'll get my finger right in there, get that top part and kind of blend that little piece into the bridge of the nose. Carefully get in there. Try to blend that clay into the lid. We work that cheek into the face, and again, everything I do, I'm going to try to make it the same on both sides. So if I got one side blended in, try to get the other side blended in. I don't expect you to work as quickly as I do. That being said, it's taken me a good 20 minutes to do this. So if you're doing it in 10, what I will tell you is you're probably doing something wrong. Take your time. think I'm pretty much close to done. I could do a little more smoothing out, a little more touching up, but you can see my nose is in there. My nose is connected on the top part. In here, I've sort of connected my cheek into the nose. Cheek is seamless over here as it goes towards the mouth. Seamless on this side as it goes into the mouth. No seam in there on the lower lid. And I could spend a lot more time cleaning this up. You get the picture. And you can see right in here, there still is a little bit of a crease that's been sort of blended. This is what we want. We want to leave that little bit right there. We want to leave that little bit over here unblended. This little fold and crease is an important part of our sculpture. What we don't want is we don't want a fold or a crease up here. Again, we can blend out. We don't want on the forehead. We don't want one underneath over here. Let's save the little bit of the nostrils and detail work for later on. But at this point, we should start to have most of the face on there. And again, your nose may look very different from mine. You can always make it slightly different in terms of shape, size, and even placement ever so slightly. But those are the basic shapes and steps to get you this far. Again, take your time. Take your time to blend these things in. Try to use the same amounts of clay that I've been using. You should see your face at this juncture kind of coming into focus. We can make it puffier and chubbier. We can make it a little bit more youthful looking. We can make it happier. But basically, we should have our eyes, nose, and mouth on at this point. You can see I still have a lot of area left to cover. I've got forehead and some more of the rest of the face to cover. But I still have plenty of clay left over from my original pile. And I don't have a lot left to do. So with that, that's sculpting your nose. I hope that video was helpful. And I shall see you all on the next one.